This video has been sponsored by Squarespace. So, I've heard a new Mario Party game has been released. Ha! To think I'd be caught dead playing it. No, my idea of a good time in Mario Party is setting the controller down and letting the wins come to me. Well, except for that one time I played all the minigames for that one top 10 video, which is pretty good, so you should probably check it out if you haven't already, but that's beside the point. For today, we seek a greater purpose, an answer to the ever-elusive question, is it possible to beat Mario Party Superstars by doing absolutely nothing? Our mandate is to beat the game, which I'm interpreting as winning on all 5 boards, all while doing nothing. But what does it mean to do nothing? Well, that's an answer that comes in 2 parts. Firstly, we may not use the controller at all during the minigames. No button pushes, no analog stick presses, no nothing. Now, you may be wondering, what are we doing about the motion control minigames? Well, if that is indeed a concern of yours, allow me to alleviate it with one simple fact. There are no motion-controlled minigames in Mario Party Superstars, so that is nothing we need to concern ourselves with. We just need to worry about not pushing the buttons, and that's all. Now, of course, minigames consist only half of our battle. There's also the boards to contend with, where obviously pressing literally nothing is not an option, lest we get stuck on our turn for eternity. What we'll be doing instead is just pressing the equivalent of the A button for whatever option is automatically selected. I am, however, making one exception to that rule, which is chance time spaces, where we'll be allowed to move the analog stick to get through the ordeal, but we won't be allowed to look at what we're doing, so timing the chance time to get a desired outcome will be impossible. Alright, with those rules codified, let's get into this, with 15 turns, bonus stars on, and easy AI opponents. The first board in the game is Mario Party 1's Yoshi's Tropical Island, which has a fairly simple layout. It's just 2 islands, each of which consists of one large loop with 2 thwomp bridges connecting the islands. Cantaloupe Island is the home of a boo, which allows you to steal coins or even stars from other players. Although for us, since stealing coins is always the default selection, we can only steal coins with it. Over at Watermelon Island, things are a bit more capitalistic, because it hosts an item shop. At a shop, you can choose from a myriad of items to purchase that may aid you. For us though, given what the default selection at the shop is, when we arrive, if we have the money, we have to buy the top item, which in this case is a mushroom. Speaking of items, are they of any use to us? Well, barely. This game does not act like Super Mario Party, where the default action was to use an item. Here, the default action is to just roll and ignore any items you might have, with one exception. That exception is the first time you get an item in an attempt. When that happens, on your following turn, Toad will remind you that you got an item and encourage you to use it. In this and only this instance, using the item is the default selection. So basically, we use the first item we get on an attempt, and none thereafter. Oh, and while we're talking about default selections, what about board navigation? What's the default selection for that? Well, as far as I can tell, when you reach an intersection, the default way to go is the shortest route to the star, which, all things considered, is a pretty decent way for that to shake out for us. Now on this board, that is an incredibly simple calculation. I am curious though as to how that'll work on some of the more complicated boards we'll be playing later on. Well anyway, now that we know how the game works, let me tell you a bit about my first attempt on Yoshi's Tropical Island. On turn 1, we roll higher than all of our competitors, thus allowing us to reach the thwomp first and pay the smallest possible toll. We do, however, end up landing on red space as a result, and consequently lose a 1v3 minigame. On turn 2, we roll high enough to get the star, while we are literally the only player in the game without the 20 required coins to afford the star. Which, for those of you who somehow don't know, the winner of the board is whoever gets the most stars by the end of it. On turn 3, Rosalina gets her first star, but no one else gets the chance before I land on an event space, causing the star to migrate to the other island. Oh, by the way, that's kind of this level's whole gimmick, just so you know. The star then moved back to Cantaloupe Island on turn 4, and I landed on a red space, which then pit me against the other 3 players again in a 1v3 minigame, which I inevitably lost. A glimmer of hope arrived on turn 5 when Waluigi brought a Bowser Revolution upon us, dividing up all of the coins evenly. I then stole some coins from Daisy and got lucky, leading to me ending this turn in an unlikely 2nd place. The luck continues when on turn 6 Waluigi activates a chance time space, which forces him to give me 30 coins. I then somehow joined in a joint victory in bumper balloon cars. Then nothing of interest happened on turn 7. Turn 8 was similarly peaceful, seeing me move about halfway to the star with a bursting wallet of 91 coins at the ready. On turn 9, both Daisy and Rosalina got stars. Then I moved the star to the other island, but then on turn 10, Daisy moved the star back just in time for Waluigi and I to get it. On turn 11, somehow I got 2nd place on this minigame. Not much happened to shake up the status quo on turn 12, aside from Waluigi moving the star again. Turn 13 marks the moment I became the first among us to venture to Watermelon Island in pursuit of the star, which at that moment was over there. And then this bullet bill minigame took forever, like absurdly long. I was actually in a pretty good position to get the star before the game ended. Until Waluigi gave me a cursed dice block, that is. No matter, there's still next turn. Well, not if you lose literally all of your coins in a dueling minigame first. So, we're a star behind first place and don't have a single coin to our name. The only way we win this is if we somehow get both bonus stars. The first bonus is the Sightseer bonus, which goes to Daisy and Rosalina. Then, not that it matters, but the event bonus goes to Daisy, Waluigi, and Luigi. Meaning that Rosalina wins. Oh well, I guess we'll try again. Throughout most of attempt 2, I had enough money for stars. However, as I was about to get my first star, it moved. And then when I had finally made it to its new location, Rosalina used a warped box to switch places with me. I then had numerous entanglements with Bowser, leading to me finishing the attempt starless and quite nearly broke. Attempt number 3 started off quite a bit better. My team carried me to victory in an early minigame, allowing me to secure a star on turn 3. In fact, quite a few minigames went my way on this attempt, helping to keep me competitive in the coin department. I was able to get a 2nd star on turn 7. Unfortunately, Waluigi got his 3rd star first and switched the star positions when I was already well en route to its now abandoned position. Luckily, Daisy then saw fit to steal Waluigi's star, and then Rosalina stole the star Daisy stole, then the star switched spaces, ending up behind me. Oh well, that at least stops the others from getting it, and I'm actually going to be going into the bonus stars in the lead. Though it should be noted, it's the sort of lead where if any of the other players get a bonus star and I don't, I'll lose. Of course, Waluigi gets both bonus stars, so this goes down as another loss. I only barely stayed competitive through most of attempt 4 due to a lucky block containing a star I got early on. I never got another one and fell behind in coins to the point where I would need both bonus stars to win. Now, I didn't anticipate winning under such circumstances. But did the game really have to add insult to injury by giving everyone except me a bonus star? Like, come on. I thought I was doing pretty decent at being at the right place at the right time for stars, but not as much as my opponents, one of which literally doubled my star count by the end of the game. And that's not even the one that won. Attempt number 6 was a slog. I didn't get that many coins, nothing crazy happened. I didn't even get a star, they just always happened to move to the other island before I got to them. On attempt number 7, I did actually manage to get a star, and then win a battle minigame. Unfortunately, I never capitalized on that capital, and as such ended the board with just a single star, far from enough to win. On attempt number 8, I was able to spend my money on stars, and ended up tied with Daisy and Rosalina at 2 stars. Unfortunately, at game's end, I had less coins than both of them, so to win, I would need to either get both bonus stars, or have one go to me, and the other to Waluigi. That, of course, didn't happen. This attempt started off hilariously. On turn 2, I managed to get a golden warp pipe as my first item, which I was then obligated to use on my very next turn. Unfortunately, while the warp pipe did do what it's supposed to, and take me straight to the star, I didn't have the money for it. I then ended up moving the star to the island everyone except me was on at that point. In spite of that blunder, I was somehow able to get 2 stars before anyone else. Then Rosalina was given a golden warp pipe by Toad in the lead up to the final 5 turns, which she used in conjunction with a custom dice block and warp block to grab 3 stars over the course of the next 5 turns, bringing her to a total of 4 stars, while I remained at 2. Needless to say, I lost this attempt. Somehow no one got any stars for the first half of attempt number 10. Then in the second half, I was the undisputed star leader, until Rosalina stole one of my stars. At the very least, by the time bonus stars rolled around, I was the coin leader, and only a single star down. To win, all I would need is for me to get a bonus star and Rosalina to not get a bonus star. The shopping bonus went to Luigi and Waluigi. And the eventful bonus went to Rosalina. This attempt was mostly a tale of Luigi's perpetual poverty. Things did get a bit better in the last few turns, even to the point where I managed to get a star, which Waluigi immediately stole, giving him a 3-0 lead going into bonus stars. And of course, now I win both bonus stars, when it doesn't matter. This attempt was a story of me continuously just barely missing the star before it moved. I only ended up with 1 star at the end, and even that one was a bonus star, not from the board. This one was the age-old story, coin rich but star poor, leading predictably to a loss. I spent the first 12 turns of attempt number 14, not able to get a single star, mostly due to it moving around a bunch. But then something interesting happened. Thanks to a chance time space, Waluigi, who was at that point in a commanding lead, was forced to swap stars and coins with me. That puts me at a 2-star lead with only 3 turns until the end of the game. Surely you can't mess up a lead like that, right? Well, Daisy can grab a star in the last turn, and then Rosalina can buy a star and steal one from me, putting the 3 of us at 3 stars each. I do have a coin lead, but if either of the ladies get a bonus star and I don't, I've lost. Well, let's see how it goes. Oh, wait a minute. There's a battle minigame on hot rope jump as well? Now I don't even have a coin lead. Well, let's see who gets the bonuses. The first one is the Sightseer bonus, which goes to Waluigi. And the second is the Eventful bonus, which goes to Luigi and Daisy and Waluigi. And that, I think, actually works out. Yes! Luigi wins! Finally! Well, that took a while. Maybe without the star space switching mechanic, the next board will be easier. Which board is next anyway? Ah, Mario Party 2's Spaceland. Let's start by talking about some of the differences between Spaceland and Yoshi's Tropical Island. One big one is how exactly the stars work. In Yoshi's Tropical Island, the star stayed in one of 2 places until someone landed on an event space, causing the star to move to the other space. Here in Spaceland, though, the star will show up in one of many locations around the board, and only the first player to get to and buy it is able to purchase it before it moves somewhere else. There are also gates that can only be opened by skeleton keys. This, honestly, on balance, is probably a good thing, since if we have a skeleton key and pass a gate, the default action to take is opening the gate. So that means skeleton keys are actually an item we can use multiple times over the course of an attempt. Or at least I thought the keys would be a net positive. I really should have known better than to trust a key. Now you may be wondering, how could a helpful item like a key possibly be a bad thing? Well, you clearly haven't seen my Kirby videos. But anyways, remember how the first time we get an item, Toad encourages us to use it so strongly on the next turn that using the item becomes the default action? Well, that still happens if the first item you get is a skeleton key. Despite the fact that skeleton keys can't be used before you roll the dice like other items. It's only used as you pass by gates. This leaves us in an awkward position where we're stuck on the item screen, with the default action being to use an item that can't be used. In essence, we get soft-locked and must cut the attempt short and start anew. hopefully this doesn't happen too often. It happens on the very next attempt. As it turns out on this board, buying a skeleton key is the default action to take when passing by a shop. So in essence, if we ever get to this shop with at least 3 coins to our name without having previously obtained another item, it's game over. At least this shop is pretty far from the start, so getting another item before arriving there is far from unlikely. Still though, it's mighty annoying. There are also the bank squares, which you pay into when you pass, and you take all the money from when you land on them. Honestly, they don't really play into the odds of us winning as much as you would expect, especially not when those evil keys keep cutting short our attempts. One other thing that might prove problematic is the fact that the chance time spaces on this board are hidden way behind a gate in a corner of the board almost no one ever visits. Which means chance time happens much less often. Given that chance time was the main catalyst to us winning on the last board, that likely doesn't bode too well for us. Oh, and let's not forget about the event space, which causes near vehicular homicide, or in gameplay terms, moves you and everyone else on the road back several spaces. There's of course also the sniffets that you can pay to patrol, and make you go even further back. Of course, we don't have a choice. If we've got the money and they aren't already on patrol, we have to pay to put them on patrol, even if it ends up being against our interests, which quite often it is. And of course, I can't not mention the centerpiece of the whole board, the big Bowser coin beam. Basically, if you're standing on that big diagonal that goes across the board at the wrong time, you will lose all your coins. Even if, say for example, you had 156. In an instant, all of them gone. Of course, anyone can fall victim to it, but given our pretty dumb one-track method of navigating around the board, we are probably the most likely to end up getting hit by it. One of the issues with the whole doing nothing thing is that you tend to lose most of the minigames, which often means you'll have very few coins. So even if you win the race to the star, you won't actually be able to afford it. Obviously, that doesn't exactly help you win. Often, I end up struggling with money on these attempts, but not always. I'd like to take a second to note and express my appreciation for some of the minigames that I actually have a decent shot at gaining some coins in. Bowser's Big Blast is one, since it's luck-based, and my luck can be just as good or better than everyone else's. Another would be Speed Hockey, where the AI has a tendency to basically just score on themselves. There's also Piranha's Pursuit, in which, even when I'm relying on my teammates to do all the work against an easy AI, on the team side, it's quite nearly a guaranteed win. Of course, when all your coins get taken from you in a duel, it really doesn't matter so much, does it? Attempt 29 started off pretty well. Thanks to good rolls and a lucky space, I managed to nab the first star. A couple turns later, Waluigi got the second star, and promptly showed why taking an early lead can be a bad thing, when he immediately stole all my coins. Presumably because I was in second place after him at the time. I then got blasted by the coin beam, but hey, when you only have one coin to lose, that's not so bad. Rosalina then acquired her first star and initiated a Bowser revolution, which, given the financial state I was in, I have one thing to say about it. Viva la revolution! After buying a key and funding the Sniffet Patrol, I picked up my second star, giving me the lead once again. And what do you know, having a key allowed me to access the shortcut to the middle, which should give me fast access to the next star. And a boo. Unfortunately, Rosalina was closer and used a custom dice block to guarantee she would roll enough to reach the star. And then she went the wrong way at the intersection for some reason. I won't complain about it. Come my turn, a 3 or higher will get me the star, and I roll a 7, gaining me my third star and putting me at a 2-star advantage. Waluigi closes the lead a bit by using a golden warp pipe to get his second star. Then the next star ends up near Daisy. But hey, it's only her first, so not really all that concerning. What is a bit concerning is Rosalina getting to the next star to make it her second, which she does. Luckily though, on the final turn, I roll enough to get one last star to bring my lead back up to 2, all but assuring my victory. And at this moment, dear viewers, is when I discovered that the default action when you possess a key and are at a gate is always to unlock and go through the gate, regardless of where the star is. So, I waved goodbye to that star, entered the gate, and hoped beyond hope that my 1-star lead would hold through bonus stars. The first went to Rosalina and Luigi, and the second went to Daisy and Rosalina, meaning that due to a skeleton key, we lose this attempt by 20 coins. The next attempt doesn't start nearly as strong. Due to losing minigames and not having the lucky rolls to compensate, we don't even crack 20 coins, the price of a star, until turn 7. By turn 8, though, we do have a star. By turn 11, we reach another star, but can't actually afford it because of the cost of buying a key and funding the Sniff Patrol. Needless to say, someone else, Rosalina, snagged that one. She then stole a star from Waluigi, which, honestly, I'm not too broken up about. Mostly just means the CPUs have wasted some of their coins without adding anything of value to the equation. And honestly, things aren't too interesting for the rest of the attempt. I end up going into the bonus stars in second, 1 star behind first. But with more coins than both first and second places. If bonus stars go my way, I could technically win. The first one is the shopping star, which goes to Luigi, I guess from buying all those keys. Then the eventful bonus goes to Daisy, who I have more coins than, meaning, yes, Luigi wins! But we're not done yet. Far from it. We've got more boards to beat, and the next one is Mario Party 1's Peach's birthday cake. But first, let me tell you a bit about our sponsor, Squarespace. Now, I understand, not everyone can subsist by sitting around barely playing Mario Party all day. No, you've got to hustle, you've got actually useful products, services, and entertainment to bring to market, and in the 21st century, that means bringing your business online with your own websites. And there's no one better to embark on that journey with than Squarespace. Between their custom templates and intuitive drag-and-drop interface, it's never been easier to build your very own professional-looking website. Even I, someone with barely any experience in website construction, was able to whip up what you're seeing in this B-roll after just an hour or so of messing around with the tools. And if you're an influencer or the like who needs social media integrations for their site, don't worry, Squarespace has your back and can interact with your social media accounts to enable what your website needs, whether that be simple links, an embedded Twitter feed, embedded YouTube videos, or I'm sure a myriad of other implementations you might come up with. So if you're ready to upgrade your online footprint, go to squarespace.com and start a free trial. Play around with the tools and see what they can do for you. Then when you're ready to launch, make sure to use my URL, squarespace.com/SemiCraft, to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Alright, thank you for getting through that. Now time for some cake. So, Peach's birthday cake. What of it? Well, it is an aggressively linear Mario Party board, to the point where I don't think there's actually a single intersection on it where you can decide which way to go. Theoretically, though, I think that should technically be to our benefit, since we weren't making intelligent decisions at intersections anyway. Really, this should just bring everyone down to our level. As an added bonus, keys do not exist on this board, so we won't need to worry about them ending our attempts prematurely. Another major feature of this board are the strawberries, which can be planted by players when they land on event spaces, and then proceed to steal coins or stars from whatever unfortunate players land on them next. Our default action when landing on these spaces is to plant a coin-stealing one. Though it should be noted, if we have the money and land on a space that already has our strawberry on it, the default action is to upgrade it to a star-stealing one. Still though, that requires landing on almost the same space again, which, not exactly going to be a common occurrence. Then there's Bowser and the Flower Lottery. Basically, shortly after the star, you have a random chance of either continuing along the board's path as usual, or instead taking a shortcut past Bowser, who takes a not insignificant amount of coins from you as you pass. And that's Peach's birthday cake for you. Overall, I am quite optimistic about our odds here. With the board routing strategy mostly removed, I firmly believe that this should be the most favorable board we've attempted yet. So, let's see how this pans out. Well, it seems that my initial impression of this board's difficulty was a gross misrepresentation. Nothing I said was wrong, mind you. It's just the implications were a bit more complex and dire than I had predicted. Let's look at the stationary star and linear board. Things I thought would help us. Now, I thought that the board's lacking choice in the form of branching paths would even out the playing field a bit. And, to be fair, it did do just that. This board has perhaps the smallest standard deviation of how often players reach the star of any board in the game. For a 15-turn game, I found that it's rare for each player to visit the star more or less times than about 2 or 3. The issue for us here is this accentuates our tendency to have money problems. We are by far the most likely player to show up at the star without enough coins to afford it. And if everyone gets to the star about as many times as each other, the guy who showed up without the money for it once or twice is going to be the guy that loses. In particular, oftentimes we find ourselves relying on lucky spaces to scrounge up the cash for our first star, which does work sometimes, but other times not so much. Then there's the Flower Lottery, which, just like in real life, only serves to make the poor poorer. As I've said many times already, we generally don't win a lot of minigames here, and therefore are often strapped for cash. The issue with the Flower Lottery is as follows. If our opponents win it, then it often means they just have a shortcut to the star, which will aid them into getting the extra star or 2 by game's end that'll be the difference maker. So we want to win the lottery then, right? No, not really. Because winning the lottery, once you factor in the cost of the entry, not pass and go, Bowser's scams, and the likelihood of landing on bad spaces, can easily end up being an expense in excess of 30 coins. Usually that's enough to drive us totally broke, let alone stop us from being able to afford a star. So it's a lose-lose situation. If we win, we're broke, but if our opponents win, they get a nice little shortcut. And that's without even factoring in the strawberries. Now even these, I thought, might have been an improvement over boos, given that they're essentially boos that just randomly might not give you anything if no one landed on the space after you. Oh, how wrong I was. First issue. Just like with boos, our opponents can make much better use of them than we can. The only way we can get a star-stealing one is if we happen to land on the same strawberry we had already planted, which is obviously a bit less likely to occur than what our opponents have to do, which is just buy a star-stealing one right out of the gates. But the issues go deeper. One of the saving graces of boos is that the way the AI uses them, they act as a bit of a catch-up mechanic. The AI nearly always targets the player in first when they use a boo. That puts a bit of a headwind on the leading player, hopefully stopping them from amassing ridiculous several-star leads. Remember, it's a lot easier to win in a scenario where your 3 competitors have 2 stars each than a scenario in which somehow 2 of your competitors have none and the other has managed to amass 6. The issue with strawberries is that they flat out don't care about any of that game theory nonsense. They just take from whoever lands on them next, meaning that they can enable snowballing just as often as they prevent it. So yeah, those 3 issues are what have turned what I thought would be my dream board into a nightmare. Well, nothing to do but press on. It's not as if I have anything better to do. So, what happened on this attempt? Well, though in aggregate the systems on this board were against us, occasionally the stars do align. We had on this attempt enough coins to buy the star each time we arrived at it. We landed on our own strawberry, upgraded it, and were even lucky enough for someone else to land on it. We narrowly avoided landing on someone else's strawberry, got a star from a hidden block, and had bonus stars go reasonably well. All of which led to, on our 51st attempt, finally, a victory for Luigi. The next board is Woody Woods. But let me tell you guys, for a month straight, Mario Party has been about all that's been on my TV whenever I've been home. I gave myself a full month to get through all the boards and make this video, and even that wasn't enough time. So, I humbly ask that if you haven't already, please subscribe and ring the bell so you're notified when part 2 comes out. With any luck, those last 2 boards hopefully will be, at the very least, a bit easier than Peach's birthday cake. Hopefully.
Oh, I highly doubt that.
No. Not you again. Anyone but you! No! No!